Good afternoon, Tony Datino doing my live with doing it early today as I have a couple of afternoon appointments and I want to make sure I stay with my live with Tony's at least Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So good afternoon. Up in New York, it's been tough getting through the Facebook site today. I guess we're having the weather. So here I go from Florida, being in New York. My other half is recovering well from her hip surgery and getting better by the day. But it's a full month's process before she can get to be anywhere mobile enough to be independent. So I'll be in New York through the end of September and get back to Florida early October, which we will be then doing our 22nd USA Memory Championship. So things are active and keeping busy. The days are going by, and sometimes they seem to be faster than I'd like them to go by. But I guess that's a good thing if you're busy and things are happening. So we wanted to cover today, reading several different articles that really make me remind me of the Maximum Memory Mastery online course that Michael Datino has put together, and he's been taking pieces of that and he's using them in different presentations that he's able to do. And there were a couple of articles that I read that really kind of hit me, that really fit with the whole purpose of maximum memory mastery. And we talk about the importance of several factors within that course that really helps us with our mental fitness. And when I think about mental fitness, think about brain power, factors that impact brain health. When we ask people, when you think of brain power, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? Invariably, majority of people will tell us it's memory. It's memory. I never want to lose my memory. I don't want those sessions and you have a chance to talk to people, be it on Zoom in these days or on site, you get into that type of a dialogue and that kind of a conversation. And so as a result of that, the question becomes, okay, what are things that we may be able to take control over that we can at least implement within our own lifestyle that the year's newsletter, exercise reduces the severity of COVID-19. Sedentary people infected with the COVID virus had a greater risk of hospitalization and admission to ICU in meeting recommended exercise guidelines. I'm like, whoa. So we talk about exercise as something we know has a very strong positive impact on our brain. And we also know that exercise has a strong impact on our physical well-being, our breathing, and our abilities to sustain good health. And now comes the study, comes in this, let's see where this study was done. Researchers gathered self-reported. So here we go. The researchers did 48,000 people through October of 2020, and they gathered exercise data over a 2-year period. So they went back to 2018. So God, how they did this? They linked each exercise to whether or not that's moderate or it's medium. So it's some activity was 11 to 149 minutes. What they recommend is 150 minutes a week of some form of activity, walking, maybe running, biking, swimming, gardening. So 150 is what keeps coming up as the maximum benefit requirement. And what they discovered was the folks that were in that group of 150 minutes were strongly associated with the reduced risk of severe COVID. They recommend that public health agencies step up more diligently to promote physical activity and call for exercise recommendations to be a routine part of medical care and doctor visits. Now, this is something we've known about for a long time. In our maximum memory mastery, we talk about the importance. So if you start to think about this from a common sense point of view, the importance of exercise to our mental health, to our brain cells, is simple. It's our brain is using about 20 to 30% of the oxygen that we breathe in every day. So now our brain is our faculty that we then use to consume oxygen. It takes about a third of it. And we say, God, what do we need to do to bring better, pure oxygen into our brain? And that is to have some form of physical exercise and activity. Well, he comes along here, and this is in the Mind, Mood, Memory magazine I get every month. There's a newsletter that comes out. This is the September issue. And we're back to now. Increased exercise levels may counter the harm caused by poor sleep. Little or no exercise is associated with poor cardiovascular health and cognitive decline, and a host of other negative health consequences. So here we go. This is the Massachusetts General Hospital newsletter, Mind, Mood, Memory, the September 2021 issue, reminding us again that little or no exercises gives you poor cardiovascular. I think we know that one. I don't think we need to spend a lot of time realizing our breathing is impacted by our exercise, but it's also a cognitive decline. That's why I was explaining to you about a third of our oxygen is consumed by our brains. So you want to have some form of physical fitness and a host of other negative consequences. And this also applies for poor sleep. So in our Maximum Memory Mastery online course, we talk about the importance of exercise, the importance of nutrition, the importance of sleep. And here's a chance now to minimize poor sleep habits with exercising again. So one more benefit from exercising. A recent study found that a combination of a sedentary lifestyle and insufficient sleep significantly raises the risk of heart disease, cancer, and early death. However, that same study found that people who exercise at the recommendations of the World Health Organization can cut those risks even if a good night's sleep remains elusive. In a study published, researchers tracked exercise levels and sleep quality of 380,000 adults. I would consider that to be a significant sample size. And while the findings underscored the cognitive and health benefits of high levels of physical exercise and sufficient sleep, they also noted that people who met or exceeded the WHO, the World Health Organization's recommendations, eliminated the harmful associations between poor sleep and mortality. So Michael Dottino was doing a presentation last night talking about these elements of brain health. And a lot of the feedback he came back from the audience was basically, this is common sense. And yet, when we look at common sense, I have continued to feel that common sense is rare sense, meaning though we may think this is sensible and logical and rational, very few people actually act upon it, actually do the things that they should be doing. And I actually put that out back to Michael. I said, it's an interesting conversation. People know exercise is important. We know sleep is important. We know mental challenges are important to us. We know that how we reduce our levels of stress and how we manage stress, we may not be able to reduce those that cause, but how we react and manage to it. So we know all these things, but how many people really engage in the proper behaviors to manage the elements that have this impact? And we really started to touch on this through the Maximum Memory Mastery online course. And as that more and more people are being exposed to elements of that course, not only are they recognizing the benefits of memory and the importance of the elements to our cognitive fitness and function, but to our overall mortality and our lifestyles and our longevity of how long we will live. As Da Vinci taught us once many, many years, or as he wrote many, many years ago, our senses is connected to everything else, and everything else is connected to our senses. And so if we can only begin to realize that we are a one system body here, that, our brain, our breathing, our sight, our senses are connected to the body. And the nerve fibers and the ligaments and the communication neurons and things are all within the body. And so how does one separate parts of your body and treat them in silos, which sometimes with doctors today I get a bit frustrated because we look at the body in silos as opposed to holistic. And this, again, in the Maximum Memory Mastery has really touched upon something that is really catching people to want to know more. But then the more is interesting only to the point that you're going to act upon it. And so we will continue to work on how do we get the message to people and get them to engage in the physical activities of doing that which we think is common sense, and realizing sometimes common sense is not so easy when you have to act on. What exercise routines do I have? How are my sleep patterns? What am I doing in terms of my nutritional well-being? What am I doing in terms of my physical activities and things of that sort? What are my social interactions? My goodness, there's another whole subject we've been talking about, social interactions. So how are we doing each of those things, and how are we managing all of these with the complexity of COVID layered on top of it? This is my broadcast for today. If anybody wants to, I've stopped giving out my email, and a few people said, gee, how do I reach you? It's adottino@aol.com. It's adottino@aol.com. That's my personal email. I do look at those every day, at least a couple times a day. And if there's anybody that I can offer any assistance or help